at the beginning, maybe you do some things that you have to do. Maybe I don't enjoy selling, like iron for the bookshelf. I don't know. But my business does very well. I travel with my family, and where, Disney, I hate that place only because I've been so much. The kids drag me there. You're just starting, but I've been there 5,000 times. I hate that place.
Let's talk Tales. In this episode of Tales with Taylor, I have a Madam President in the studio, the 2024-2025 NAWBO Phoenix President, who is an impact investor, building access to diverse impact investment opportunities across asset classes and community as founder of Rise Impact Investing Community. It's Tanaha Hairston. How are you doing today?
Oh, Taylor, I'm doing good. It's so good to see you and be here. Look at this studio. I love this place. It's amazing.
Well, thank you for being here, taking the time. So please tell me the tale that got you into capital investing. Were you just a little girl saying, one day I'm going to work with a lot of money and help people get a lot of money?
Ha 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 ha. No. Not at all, actually. I actually came from a family of engineers. My dad was an engineer. My sister was an engineer. I was an undergrad engineer, a very bad one, but I was. And we started that way. And because Taylor, my dad had one friend who was an entrepreneur growing up. I will tell you, I've always been enamored by entrepreneurs, right? He had one friend that was not corporate, who had started companies and brands and businesses, right? And they were investing in this state, that state. And I would sit and just listen to everything that he said. So it did happen from a very young age, but there's two dynamics of what I do now. So the first is the investing part, and that started very young. The second part is this heart of impact, right? Things that we look to invest in. If we're thinking of investing in an apartment or multifamily, we're looking for things that actually make the world better. So think affordable housing or community revitalization or senior living or things like that actually make the world better. That heart came from also my family, where my parents would take us, to Mexico. And when we would go visit there, we were there for the summers, they would take us to these neighborhoods, and they really had, trouble having access, to, beautiful clean waters and, great food. And they would intentionally do that and take us there. And then even like it was a ministry work, they would take us to these neighborhoods because they wanted us to see. So I've always had a heart for impact, but at the same time, right, I've always had that mind and that yearning, to invest and understand how to do it and how to do it in the right ways and, how to build business as well. So I've always had a mind and a heart to do that, both.
That's so amazing that your parents did that. And I think I'm going to try to implement that with my parenting, just really letting you have an appreciation more so for what you have to be able to see. Because I may say when my son's not eating something on his dinner plate, hey, there's people who wish they could have that. Yeah. But it's one thing to say it and it's another thing to actually see it.
Yes.
So tell me, when you're first starting business, what would be suggestions that you have to people? Is it to reach out to someone like yourself to get capital and, to work with? Or what would be some of your top suggestions for people just starting?
Yeah. Well, then another part of that story, I'm going to piggyback on that. I started off as a corporate engineer and, really kind of climbing the corporate ladder. I was married very young to my first boyfriend. And, my first boyfriend was an athlete. And so because he was a professional athlete, we started seeing opportunities to invest in very, very, since at the onset of our marriage. And really, you're never trained, to really understand how you should or if you should invest in the business. What are the things to look for? What are the things to not look for? So you think about all these startup businesses that you may hear about or that you may see, things from Snapchat to, those are the highly scalable ones, right? But, like to really be able to look at those and understand, gosh, if they need this small amount of seed money, some of them start really small, 5,000, 10,000, to just help that person get off the ground with their business. So to understand what you should look for, what you should ask, how you should analyze like the team, the market, their product, right? Because you're doing that because you expect for that money to grow by 10x, 25x, or whatever it is. That's why you invest in them. So we started that journey early on. He was never interested. I was very much interested. And then it really kind of catapulted, Taylor, because when I went back to grad school, I got at Thunderbird, I got asked to run their angel network. So angels are, I think, former business owners that have sold a business or successful professionals that have now retired. So this is what the demographic is. And they looked at companies, startup companies to invest in and give seed capital to, right? Because again, they're looking to put that money in there in order to grow it. And over those years, I got that mentorship and that tutelage. This was 12 years ago. It was a long time, 12, 13 years ago. So it was a long time ago. But, having that experience training me to like go and look at these, go find us these types of businesses. Let's convince them to invest in, let's convince them to come in and present to invest. Think Shark Tank without the drama. That's exactly what it was. And so to have that and to look at these things as assets, because that's really how you start looking at a business, right? At some point with my NAWBO journey, right, it's really a National Association of Women Business Owners. You're building the business for your family, right, and to support your lifestyle. So there's those kinds of businesses. And then those are the ones that, you know what, I don't care. We're going to sleep on our couch. We're going to have, a couple people, we're going to build this highly innovative, scalable, impactful business. And we're going to raise money, to help us to build this entity, right? And then we're going to sell it or be acquired and go public, right? The mindset is different from a lifestyle business. So those types of businesses are the ones that investors, that demographic that I shared, that they're actually wanting to invest in. So I started there. But as I've started Rise, new investors, it's harder to invest in businesses. And to be frank, real estate is much easier. So now that's where we start everyone, is investing in buildings, because everyone can understand. Everyone either owns a house, has owned a house. There's apartments in their neighborhood. They understand the concept of that. So it's really easy for them to understand, okay, this building has 100, 200, 300 units, right? It's 96% occupied. That means 96% of the people are paying rent. Okay, so there's the revenue of the business, right? There's expenses, right? Everybody knows what those expenses are because everyone has them. Maintenance, insurance, taxes, everybody has those. And so you understand, okay, I understand what this product is because we've owned an individual house, most people. So I understand what it means to invest in something like that. The reason why they do it is typically when you do those investments, you can invest in, we're targeting like double-digit returns. You can just get passive income from rents, right? You're doing nothing. Money just comes in the bank. And then there's tax benefits, right? So with real estate, it's nice. They do a tax segregation study, finding everything that you can depreciate with a building. Nice. And so you can, typically it's 70% tax segregation study. So it helps your tax obligation. So that's why people invest in real estate and other opportunities like that. That's why they do.
So do I come to you as someone looking for an investment opportunity, saying, I really want to use this money for good today.
You do.
How do I get started? And then
you do.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you do. I want to grow what I have, either through my retirement, right? Or my, 401, whatever I have, you can invest any of those. Or savings, whatever, right? And because if you look at traditionally what you have, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's only growing at this rate. You mean I can get double digit here, right? With a private, then that's why you come. And, a lot of things we do make the world better. But that's how I got started early on. And, after I ran that Shark Tank group without the drama, it's called an Angel Network. I started my first business. And it's hard, right? I'm going to tell you, I've had businesses, I've had real estate, the first business is difficult, right? Because you don't really know what you're doing. That first one is. So it's always best to have a mentor, right? Or some experience before you get started. Managing real estate is definitely much easier. Properties are definitely much easier. But that's just my opinion.
Properties don't have emotions necessarily. They don't have opinions. They don't have mood swings, you know? So any industry, I think when you're dealing with people and different personalities, it's just a different ballgame than dealing with an actual asset that doesn't have those human emotions. Yes.
And then not only that, right? But the one thing people need next to food and water is a place to live. Right. So really inherent of any economic cycle, if you can just kind of withstand, any economic cycle, real estate is always, it's always performed really, really well. So we start people with that because they understand it. It's easy. And even from an investor point of view, it's easy. They understand it. With the businesses, right? There's so many other dynamics to explain, such as, oh, I invested. Now what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the real estate, they see passive income because money's coming in from
Mm-hmm.
rents. So you can give those in distributions. They're seeing some tax benefits, right? Which are much greater than what we could do if we connected them with a business to invest in. So, so the journey has been really interesting. And the advice that I would give is get started, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid. I think for us as women, we want to do everything just right and just perfectly. And I know, because I'm talking, to myself, like I would, you want to be the best parent.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to research. I can't tell you how many books I've read, like I'm a reader, so I've got lots of books. You want to be the best parent. You want to be the best partner. You want to be to your circle of your for friends. You want to be a good friend, right? We're always trying to aspire to do all of these things at such high levels of greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And including being a business owner, right? We're always trying to just aspire. And this is how I was. And I would say, you know what? I think we do live in the best place in the world. And if we're wondering how to do something, I would say there's always a path. Find a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and just get started. And then the other thing that I would say is a lot of times certain things will take the same amount of work.
Mm-hmm.
So think about what we're really trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And then think about, is there multiple ways to achieve that, as opposed to like, well, I'm good at this, I can do this, or my heart wants to do this, as opposed to, you know what, there's another way to get to this point, which is where I'm trying to get to, maybe, I may not love it as much as, my cupcake business or whatever, but guess what? I can put in the same amount of effort and 5x my results, right? So by being open to those types of things, I would have shared that with myself early on. Even my first business, Taylor, that I started, I mean, it's fine now. I ultimately sold it to someone, but I picked something in like the consumer product beauty industry, and I thought, oh, I can do this. I can be my own media. I can do my own ads. I can do this. But if I did it all over again, I wouldn't have done that. I would have picked something really not sexy. I really, really would have.
Storage units or something, right? Like a storage unit business.
There's so many things that we can use our woman status. People always laugh when I say that, but there's so many things that we can do, that aren't as sexy. Even this beautiful lighting that you have around here, just being a distributor, for that, or any of these things that aren't necessarily, like, oh my gosh, guess what? I've got this business, right? But, if I had to do it all over again instead of doing that business, right? Because luckily, I got lucky, and I'll tell you why. Because this was, like I said, right after the Angel Network. So it was 12 years ago. Early on, Shopify and Facebook ads, right? All of that stuff was, ClickFunnels. Now everybody knows about it. But back then, we were still on like that early. So that's frankly how I made that work back then. Other than that industry so crowded. And then it was me, and I remember Eric. And Eric had, he was my digital marketer, and he taught me so much. He had a wife and cats. And nice. I got him when he came out of the Navy. And Eric was like, we really followed that ClickFunnels book like to a T. And that's how we built that subscription model business. But I wouldn't have done that again. And so that is my advice. Just don't be enamored with the sexy. Mm-hmm. Be enamored with what you can actually leverage with what you have, because that's thinking like an investor. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm going to invest my time, and I want to be a great mom, a great partner, wife, whatever, all these things that I aspire to be, like, can I do that with less effort? Meaning, because everything's hard work. Mm-hmm. Everything. Nothing's easy. But what I'm trying to say is maybe it's these, little awards, like just the awards that's not sexy, but we make those awards is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I'm pointing to things that looking
garbage
around, things that are not
literally
sexy.
Everyone needs their garbage collected.
Yeah.
What? Not sexy, but something that's, guaranteed.
Yeah.
I have a friend who is a director at a funeral home.
Yeah.
Not sexy, but oh my goodness, she never had a fear that business is going to stop.
Yes.
Because there's one thing we're going to guarantee is that there's taxes and death. You know?
You got it.
So,
you got it. And the awards are big, but I'm just trying to say, like, the design and where the distributor, those tangible things. The funeral home, that's another great lens. So, and then the other thing that I would have done is put on the mindset of an investor. So, which I am now.
Right. Like, what attributes do you look for in a business to say that is an investor?
Yeah. So one is as an investor that I would invest in to, kind of scale the money. But if I wanted the experience of having, like, then I wanted the operational experience, because I did feel like the best investors had built a business or had a business and they had scaled it with systems, right? But those types of businesses, so many of those go on the market and they're for sale all the time, right? And so what I probably would have done is using my background, what I'm really like, I like tech, I like marketing, like these are things that I like, right? I like telling the story behind things. I really do. I like articulating whatever your gifts are. We all have gifts that we were naturally created with, right? Yeah. We do. And we all have ways that we spent our time. I told you my undergrad was computer science, and then I got an MBA focused on finance, right? Whatever those gifts are, and they're all really different for all of us. One person is good at operations, right? So we can look for things that need that. And then find something where, he's like, what, I want to do this. My HVAC guy was selling his business when I bought 2 air conditioning units from him last year. Like, true story. Had I been in the market for an HVAC company, or had I wanted to, have that kind of business, he was like, yeah, what, I think we want to sell it, and he goes, I want to bring an apprentice on, teach him how to do it. And then, we I phased myself out, and I was like, just like that. Yeah. And so I wish that I would have known about things like that early on, as opposed to, okay, I've got to start something from ground zero, work my way up, right? Because then you got to get product market fit. You got to get the messaging right. You got to get all of these things right, Not that we can do them, but it's much easier, right, to take over Taylor's financial potion, or, the impact investing community where I've been working on, for 2 years. It's so much easier to take over that.
Oh, yeah, because the systems are done, the roles are in place, things like that, versus, having to start, like, literally invent a wheel. Yeah. You can just take someone else's wheel and slap it onto your life vehicle and continue rolling along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how they happen. You're in groups, someone's, I hate to say it, but some of the things we look for as an investor, somebody who's retiring, they can't afford it financially. This real estate apartment complex that was just acquired, he bought it at the height of the market at $15 million. He sold his company, bought it really, really high. Yeah. And, unfortunately, he couldn't sustain it. Silicon Valley Bank, everybody heard about that. It's one of their assets. They're clearing out their books. The general partners were helping them co-sponsor. $8 million is the acquisition price, $15 million to $8 million. Dang. So assuming the note at $8 million, right? So how many of us, if the house next door is on the market and you look and you're like, oh my God, you really paid a lot of it. I can get this for half. Oh my God, what? I'm going to figure out how to get this. Right. So, these things are around us, but I think education and knowledge is key, right? Because like I said, my HVAC company, he was just there placing ACs,
Wow.
And things, when we're not aware of them, then, you're not even looking for them. But when you're aware of it, then you start to see them. It's like, oh, wow, there's another one, like opportunity. So when I wanted to have a business, I would have looked for something where somebody was super motivated to sell. Those are the best investments. So really thinking like an investor early on, finding someone super motivated to sell. Maybe they do some seller financing for me, just someone super motivated. I would have done that with business instead of just starting ground zero again. I would have, right? Because then I could have taken that. If you want me to be honest, I could have taken that. And then, or even joint ventured with him and then, use my minority women status, right? We are woman-owned status. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, he's got the track record, of having a business for 5, 10, 15 years, whatever, right? Now all of a
Helps
sudden,
those RFPs to say this business has been operating for the last 15
Yeah.
years and is a woman,
and
minority
now it's a
woman-owned
woman,
business.
and now it's a woman-owned business,
Yeah.
right? So we can really kind of work together. Now, I'm not saying to do it in an unscrupulous way. I'm
Right.
saying to, really be
To think
invested.
ahead, I think, is what you're trying to say to
Yes.
everyone out there. To really think ahead,
Think
like
ahead.
an investor when you're
Right.
starting business. Because it's amazing, too. Whenever I do interviews with new team members, I always ask, I always want to have future thinking. I'm like, what is your ultimate goal? If you could wake up and, do something every day, and it doesn't matter, what would it be? And it's amazing how many people do say oh, I want to own a business. I want
Yeah.
a business. And I'm like, okay, what is the business and why?
Yeah.
And it's I just want to. It's almost like it's the cool thing now a little
Yeah.
bit. But for those who maybe have that desire and maybe lack a passion on a particular thing,
Yeah.
doing this is a great idea because
Yeah.
then you're able to jump in, have the business, but don't have to go through the gritty first few years of
Yeah.
figuring everything out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and a lot of it's relationships, right? So you establish a relationship with that person. You get to know their financials just like we would in any investment, just like you would if you're going to do due diligence on anything, when you're going to buy a house, you're going to get into, okay, what does this mean for us? What does it mean for our family? And the reason why many people are probably saying they want to have a business is because they understand that building business as an asset, is the key to building the life that they want for their family with perhaps some financial freedom, the way that they can live the life on their terms, right? Businesses are definitely hard work. The difference is I think it's flexible hard work, right? So in other words,
And you choose your own heart.
and you choose your own hard, right? So can I take an appointment? Yes, to do X, Y, and Z, 100%, right? But, am I a lot of times answering things later? Yes. Not because I have to. I actually like it.
You're choosing it.
I actually like looking at a potential, investments with apartments or buildings. I actually really enjoy it, and so sometimes we do the things that we have to do in order to do the things that we like to do. So, and I think that there's great value in that, right? So, and I think a simple way, if they don't understand their business, what business that they want, is to really kind of backtrack and figure out, what are corporations looking for, especially if you're with a woman audience. I don't know, but this is why I have SRP coming to Women with Vision, is because I really want to dive into what kinds of things that they're looking for. And I've been sending those out to even our board, right? But some of those things are, even as I recall them, they were things like art cleaners and art installers, right? And, tissue, suppliers, right? Just really basic salt of the earth things that, we may not really think about, right? I'm going to start, this kind of distribution company, but they're needed. They're needed. And they're things that it doesn't matter what happens, with AI, I still feel like those things are needed.
Yes.
Right. On that fundamental level. So, if somebody came to me now and I would say, let's reverse engineer that and let's figure out what's actually needed that may not be disrupted in some way, shape, or form. That's what I would say. If you're talking to somebody who wants to start a business, if we're talking to somebody who wants to invest, right, the conversation is completely different. But for somebody who wants to start, that's what I would say, reverse engineer that.
Awesome.
Totally. And then for somebody that wants to invest, right, it always starts with the same thing. We're looking at the team first, so whether it's a real estate deal or whether it's like a startup cool business, I just got off the phone with her. We had a Zoom call. Her business is she takes 80% food waste. Now, this is one of those highly scalable, impactful businesses. We had a lot of our investors invest in her, right? And 80% food waste and turns them into beautiful leathers. Many of, she started as a celebrity shoe designer. So many of the purses, the design, they're all covered in plastic. We learned this from her, all covered in plastic.
Wow.
So, and they're under pressure to tighten their environmental footprint. So that is an example of one that garnished and received a lot of investment.
Yeah.
But she's been at it a long time, right? Because she started as a celebrity shoe designer. Oh my gosh, look at all this waste, then a manufacturing, right? And building a manufacturing company in Italy. And then, so they live back and forth between Italy. And then it was like, okay, wait a second. Look at all of this plastic in the luxury goods industry. So you start first with that. There's a big problem, and her company screams impact on so many levels.
You said they turn it into leather?
Yeah, beautiful leather.
So it's even vegan.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what it's called. It's a vegan leather. Yeah, that's exactly what it's called.
Okay.
So we picked, so while we primarily focus on real estate, we'll pick a handful of those because we want to help that business get that platform, and she's doing phenomenal, right?
And so in addition to being a person with funds wanting to invest, if you are an industry with high impact in the community, potentially they could be on the portfolio of those being considered for investment? Potentially.
Yeah. We look at them with everything. How it starts with our team is we bring them in, we do due diligence, called a due diligence process. And then the team we vet them. And, then we run, it's like a management vetting, it's like a 10-point, due diligence. And then, yes, 100%, we do look at opportunities for investment, and what the potential is. 100%.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Now, I know you mentioned that you're an avid reader. Tell me your favorite book you've ever read or heard on Audible, and why.
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you what I'm reading now. Okay. Oh my God. I can even show you. I was going to get my phone. Yeah. Well, the one that I just shared is Who Not How, right? Because I think that that's really important. Step number one is once you identify, let's talk about two tracks here. So one is the entrepreneur side on your way to kind of getting that financial freedom that you want, right? So there, I think it's really important to find a mentor, right? And even if you're already there, for example, even with me with this, right? I've reached out to, somebody that started $28 billion fund to funds. Like, will you mentor me? I'm ready to launch my fund this year, right? So even me, I do it too. So having a mentor that has walked that exact path, I think is important, right? I didn't just reach out to my mentor that helped me build that angel network, right? Because I had great mentors there. This time, we're building a fund, a real estate fund. So I wanted somebody to mentor me who has started and built and who's now retired, multiple fund to funds, right? So will you mentor me, right? And he said, here's my book, Dollars, Gold, and Bitcoin. And it's not really about Bitcoin, but it's really about how the dollar is the number. It's an amazing book. I just read it last week. But it really talks about the dollar as being a product that we should emulate in terms of how the United States has protected, projected, and continues, right, to ensure its dominance in the world economy. It's a fascinating book.
Okay. What's the title of that again?
Dollars, Gold, and Bitcoin. Yeah, I'll show you. I'll pull up my Audible and show you all of this.
We'll also put a link to it in the show notes too.
Oh, okay.
So, awesome.
Yeah.
Coins and Bitcoin. Okay.
Yeah. That's a good one on that one. Because I'm reading things like that now.
Yeah. And you mentioned Who Not How. I'm actually doing 10x is better than 2x right now.
Okay, got it. Yeah, and okay, so see, there you go. Yeah. That totally supports what we were just talking about.
I know it was insane. I truly feel like my life is the Truman Show. Sometimes I don't know if you remember that movie, The Truman Show, just because of how much things correlate. I'm reading that book, and then we have the Wealth, Wife, Blue Women. I didn't even see what the topic was. Then it's like, oh my gosh, we're talking about all that, and that's exactly the book I'm listening to and reading right now. And
wow.
Yeah, so it's just amazing. All these little check marks in life. I feel my husband and I regularly. We'll just feel that and see that. We'll talk about, a topic, fanny packs, for example. I used to wear fanny packs, and then out of nowhere, there'll be some kid, with a fanny pack or something. It's just so amazing.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. And I want to tell you the other one, but I know we're recording, but I want to get my phone and tell you the Audible. Yeah. I'm I can't remember the name of it, but it's so good. I'm on chapter 3 and it's amazing. It's about how the Fed came to be. I'm interested in currency and money all of this stuff now. Yeah. So it's how the Fed controls our money system and our monetary system. It's just fascinating. So that's the one I'm currently reading. But anyways, in terms of entrepreneur books, right? If we want to talk more about those, I like that one. Some other things that I would say is that's the most important thing to me is finding that business
mentor.
Yeah, finding the mentor and then really, kind of working back. Yeah, I've got a lot of books on boutique private equity that I've read that I think are really important, and then more on venture capital, right? So that's what that world is. I just think that the venture world is, which is really what it is, right? So everything you can either DIY it. I'm going to really simplify this, right? So, because this is an important point. You can do it yourself or you can have it done for you. So in the financial world, you can either invest yourself, right? And so picture this nice little circle. And let's say this is what everybody talks about, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You can DIY it, meaning like, you can go to Charles Schwab or Vanguard or whatever, and you can like invest in index funds, which kind of emulate the whole market. You can DIY it. That's called do it yourself. Or you can have it done for you, which means you can get an advisor, right? And then they're going to charge you a fee to manage your money, right? Mm-hmm. Then all those other things outside of that are called private things, right? Everyone should do that tonight. Like, go and just Google like how do wealthy people invest and look at that circle, because I think it's important. Success always leaves clues, which is why we get a mentor, right? Because we want to follow the clues of success. So that's done for you. That's how it is in the public markets. On the real estate, you can DIY it, meaning like you can say, okay, I'm going to go find some houses. I'm going to flip them. Yeah. Say apartments, I'm going to flip them. I'm going to rent them out, passive. I can do all those same things. Or what I offer is done for you. You don't have to get your hands dirty, right? You don't have to go do all the work, right? Hyper-focused team, hyper-focused on those deals. Nice. We're going to find them, right? And then you can just come and invest alongside us, right? That's done for you. So that's DIY and that's DFY. Mm-hmm. The same thing on the business side, right? Private equity, investing in private businesses. You can do it yourself, right? You can kind of find a boutique business, right? I know people that do this, find a boutique business, they raise capital, they invest in that business. Maybe they have a team that builds it, whatever. Or you can invest in a fund that does that. Mm-hmm. Everything you can do, like you can do DIY it, or you can have it done for you. And I wish people would have explained things. It took me probably decades to put that together because no one articulates it in that way. Yeah. And it's that way for everything, right? So real estate is an asset class for investing. Debt is another one. Like, I just think that it took me so long to put these things together, which is why I'm sharing it, right? It was a lot of books, a lot of reading, a lot of just thinking on, other than my kids, hyper-focused. Other than kids, hyper-focused, right? I don't know how to do a lot of other things. I don't, because I've been hyper-focused on, Mm-hmm.
Is that how you say that you can be a present mom and be a successful business owner? Is just saying hyper-focused?
I do tend to hyper-focus. Yeah, I do. I do tend to hyper-focus. Yeah.
Well, that's good though. You got to stay full focus on whatever your goal is to get there. Many times, it is sometimes, in a sense, good to put blinders on so you're not distracted by other shiny objects. So
yeah.
That is very good. Now, you love reading books. If you were to write your own book, what would be the title of that tale?
Oh my gosh, right? So then there's one for teaching, right? Which is, as I talked about, the entrepreneur track. Those are people trying to, you're trying to get there. Mm-hmm. But then there's some other learnings if we're speaking like to investors, right? Which is frankly what's in our community now, like, we have this beautiful group of people that have made money and they've been focused on making it, but then learning how to make it work for them is a different skill set, right? So earning is a different skill set than actually learning how to make our money work. Like what are the types of things to invest in, when and how, what things, could like lessen my tax obligation. A lot, 70% some, 80% some, like there's investments that you can do that. So, but learning those things of, how you can make your money work for you, sustain it, keep it, and then grow. That's a different skill set. And that's what I would write about now. And then how to do so in a way that you can make the world better at the same time, because you really can do both, right? At the beginning, maybe you do some things that you have to do. Maybe I don't enjoy selling, like iron for the bookshelf. I don't know, but my business does very well. I travel with my family, and, where, Disney, I hate that place only because I've been so much. The kids drag me there. You're just starting, but I've been there 5,000 times. I hate that place. But
it's great that you're able to hate that place. It's great that you were able to experience so much that you had. The first time I ever went to Disneyland, I've never been to Disney World. Yeah. First time I went to Disneyland, I was 19 years old.
Oh.
And so, it's like sometimes, it's great that you're giving your kids that experience,
Yeah.
My summer vacations was visiting grandparents.
Mine too, the farms in Michigan.
Okay, very nice. Where in Michigan?
South Haven.
South, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Again, right?
South Haven and Covert, Covert, Michigan. But yeah, I would spend the summers there. No, the only reason why is because I'm at an age now where I don't love the crowds, right? Yeah. So it's a ton of crowds and like waiting. And my favorite, Taylor, is by a fireplace on my laptop or with a book, right? So that's the antithesis of somebody who likes that.
Yeah.
Is, not somebody who likes, but I'm the same way. Like even with like big concerts and stuff, I'm like, I have to really love the person. Otherwise, I would rather sit. I've got a room like, we can watch the concert right here.
Oh, totally.
But it's just my personality.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. Yeah. I know another one of our fellow friends, Tish Times, we will both joke that we are introvert extroverts. Like when we need to be on, we're on. But in reality, we want to just be at home.
Yeah.
Just the introvert extrovert.
Yeah. So that's I actually get excited about it. Oh yes, the fireplace. Not like I get giddy about it. Right. So versus when I say I don't, it's like, oh, I'm dreading. Like, oh gosh, we have to be all these people. It's hot,
no, they're gonna be touching me.
Not even that. It's so hot, and and then we've been in Florida, and it's. Anyways, I don't want to get into that, but yeah, you do that path because you want to have that life with your family. Mm-hmm. That's why you do that. And then you want to sustain it. And you also want to teach your kids how to do good and grow what they have. Mm-hmm. So what you've worked hard for, which is what, like anybody who's an entrepreneur and who's had a business, that's what they're working for. Mm-hmm. But then you want to sustain it, and then you want to teach your kids so that way they can take the baton and they can do even better. Mm-hmm. That next generation can do even better. And they do better because you take all of your education and knowledge, you pour it into them, and then you teach them how to make anything that we have saved. You teach them how to make it grow and how to thrive and flourish, and then how to have an appreciation for it so that they want to do it. And it's not something that is respected, not respected. Mm-hmm. You want to respect it too.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as we're coming close to a close here, I do want to make sure we touch base on your presidency. You are the 2024-2025 NAWBO, so that's the National Association of Women Business Owners, Phoenix chapter president, and something that you launched that I think has been so powerful has been the Wealth Wise Women program. It's kind of the new signature event where you are bringing in experts to speak on topics that we as business owners need to know. So please, what I want to know is, what made you feel compelled with your already very busy schedule to take on more? Because this is a volunteer organization. Yeah. So what made you feel compelled to take on the presidency? Yeah. And, what's something that you were hoping to leave with your presidency?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I didn't know that it would require this much time. So that's A. But then the why really is my daughter, Kara, is a senior this year. So I knew I would be here, right? Definitely based here. My son's in California, Taylor. He's a freshman playing college. So,
and sport does he play? Sorry, playing college.
Yeah, he plays baseball. Actually, tomorrow to go in and see him, and we'll be doing like Costco and getting Thai massage and getting him all healthy. But so I've got two older teens, right, at home, two older teens. And so I thought, I can do a year. And then hopefully during that time, my motivation is because I know, when you take a step as a woman business owner, I just want everyone to imagine you kind of taking a step, and then sometimes your foot kind of squishes down, in the wet sand, right? And you got to like pick it up, right? Because you're trying to just do so much at one time, at least for me, right? I had 3 kids, I had this experience with these other angel investors, and they had sold companies. Like, why is it so difficult for me? And then I'm never in competition with anybody else. I'm like the person that I beat myself, and I'm like, why is this so difficult for me? So when you take a step, it squishes down the sand. You have to pick it up, right? And I'm only saying that because I recall how difficult it is to build something while raising a family, while having a house, while dealing with, all the things that we have, death, divorce, everything, that we may go through in the trajectory of our lifetime. And so I thought if we can put together a program that would help the women to make their journey easier, based off of that experience, because I know I'm here, I'm not leaving Arizona, I'm hyper-focused here, the girls are here. And I think we could do a beautiful thing, and we can help, kind of create this next generation of women by coming together and being a community. Because I think that's part of it is that, in the investor world, it's so male dominated. Actually, my last post was the National Multifamily Housing Council. All the investment asset classes are so heavily male dominated. It's like, is there a woman here anywhere? But if we can help women to really understand, because a lot of it's conversation, getting comfortable talking about money, right? You notice in a lot of our openings, I talk about like, okay, here's what we're doing. Because that's why they're saying they want to be an entrepreneur. That really is the why. And we're okay with that, right? I want generational wealth. Like, we should be comfortable with saying that. Like, it's not like a taboo. It's not. Like, get comfortable with saying, I want generational wealth. I want to build it for my family. Let's talk about like what we need to do in order to get there. And so the things that I wish that I would have known 13 years ago, you see me incorporating a lot of the men, right? Like Lisa, who I've become friends with, with her business valuation company, right? That topic, to me, we should be starting there. I wish I would have started there. Oh my gosh, I can sell a software company for 10x or 15x or a merchant processing company. I wish I would have started there. So these are things that you talk about what you wish you would have known. Starting with that, what is it worth if I build it, right? Yeah. Like my dad did with me. He said at the very beginning, okay, now you can go and you can do broadcasting like you say you want to do. If you do, let's look at the salary. And it was like $50,000 at the time, or $30,000, whatever. Or you can do engineering and it's like $90,000 at the time. This is 20 years ago. But, and I was like, oh, shoot. Well, he goes, how do you want to live? And I said, well, I want my nice apartment. I want my nice car.
And if you didn't really have a passion for the broadcasting.
I did have a passion.
Okay, well then.
I did. But you know what? I'm glad I did computer science.
Okay.
Because guess what I had a passion for more? Living well.
All right. Well, but that just means that, because wealth isn't only based on your dollars. It's not only based on the bank account. It's based on your lifestyle, which for some, that lifestyle might mean driving the high-end car, driving the $1 million home, whatever. Yes. But other lifestyles, it might be, I have the flexibility to take a day off and be there for my son's, middle of the day school thing. So everyone also needs to have their own measuring stick for what does wealth mean? What does success mean?
Yes.
And so,
Yeah, no. And actually, even to your point, the computer science was best for both of those. Okay. Because, often you can work from home, right? And often you have that flexibility.
Cool to work from home or
right. Versus media, right? I would have been, at this location, that location to 8 or 9 o'clock at night, So it's a completely different lifestyle.
Hopefully you would have been good on a good time slot or stuck on the overnight time slots or something.
Maybe I would have loved it, maybe I wouldn't have, who knows? Yeah. I tell you, so here's what happens is I always feel like the universe, God, I just feel like God, he's a way of making things work out. So even though I majored in computer science, I actually only wrote software for about a year. Very soon, marketing came over to get me because we were selling really kind of complex digital systems. They go, you need to work for us. So then there I was transported to like these large, like explaining like data networks and video networks, which I love. So I was really only behind the computer probably for about 11 months after I graduated. And I just think things have a way of working out. See what I mean? Like I mean, they were like, either she's not a good coder. I don't know, not a good coder, but I was okay because they helped me. I was okay. I wasn't great at it. Didn't love it. But then when I got to that one, oh boy, I just really just blossomed. So sometimes I made that decision for our discussion. Like I made the decision, okay, this is the lifestyle I wanted. And, and it was honestly, it was a great lifestyle because you're done at 4 or 5, you work from home, right? To be a woman computer scientist is really quite nice, to be quite frank, financially and flexibility, right? It really is. It would have been very different because who knows, I could have been sent to Virginia, like I listened to some of those tales of how people lived in media early on. And it takes a longer time to get to where you need to go versus that year or two, they were kind of already grooming me from a corporate perspective, to climb up the ladder. So, I don't know, it's a catch-22, but I will say, I think my advice is to think about how you want to live. I think that that's just as important because some of us care, some of us don't care, right? Like I would say my sister probably doesn't care as much. She cares, but not as much as I do. Right?
Yeah.
So, but she cares about other things, right? Which is okay. We're all individually human. So I would say, think about how we want to live and then what would align with that.
Excellent. That's really perfect advice. I think perfect advice to end on is really, think about what life do you want? Because really we get the option to choose every day what actions to take in order to get us one step closer to our goals. Any other final thoughts you want to leave with people?
No, I just want to say I love what you guys are doing. I really, really do. I love this. You're great at interviewing. You really, really are fantastic. Thank you for making this space such a comforting space. And thank you for providing the content, for others to learn from. And I appreciate it. Yeah, I do. And the one thing I would say is always think like an investor. All of us should always think with our time, with our money, because this is really a mindset. Like, and I'm even starting to teach my kids, if you do that, what's the return? If you do that, what's the return? If you do that, what's the return? And whether it's and is that going to help you get to where you need to go? And those are some other things that I wish that I would have said and known. So think like an investor, because that's how we look at everything. If we do this, what's the return?
That's excellent. That's excellent parenting advice. You gave me 2 pieces. Look at the return and then also bringing my kids to just other communities and cultures and having them embrace that more. So thank you so much for being a wonderful person, a wonderful business owner, a wonderful mom, and a wonderful Madam President. You really have been excellent. I've been really, really, really enjoying this year. So thank you for all the hard work you've done. I know it is a hard job. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Keep working hard, stay focused on your goals, and start living the life you truly want to live. Thank you for watching Tales with Taylor. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the Financial Potion YouTube channel to never miss an episode.